All right, we'll start in a few minutes. Please wait. All right. Any of you, please guide me. Is the board visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Handwriting is clearly seen. Please confirm.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's better. Okay, fine. Now, our topic for today is diabetes. We'll start with basics of diabetes. Now, this begins with an organ which is situated between and small intestine. This C-shaped part of small intestine is called as duodenum. In between these two organs, we have an abdominal organ. There is this fantastic abdominal organ. This called as pancreas. Now, pancreas is considered to be a mixed gland. In fancy word, we can call it as heterocrine gland. Now, why it is called as a mixed gland or heterocrine gland? It is because major part of this gland produces enzymes. So the major component is exocrine. However, few cells in between are endocrine in function because they produce hormones. Now, my dear students, in order to understand diabetes, we need to understand this fantastic organ, pancreas, present between stomach and duodenum, produces certain hormones, and these hormonal deficiency can give rise to certain diseases which disturbs our sugar metabolism. Let's see how. Now, the endocrine part of pancreas. So let us say, suppose we have this gland, this organ called as pancreas. Now, inside pancreas, there are these group of cells. These group of cells are called as islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans is just like an island. How we have a land surrounded by water from all sides. Similarly, here we have few endocrine cells which are surrounded by exocrine cells. Exocrine cells will produce enzymes. And these chemicals, these will be digested. However, the endocrine part will produce certain chemical messengers which are called as hormones. Now, these cells will produce hormones. Amongst this group of cells, we have alpha cell, beta cell, delta cells, and F cells. Alpha cell produces one hormone which is called as glucagon. Beta cell produces hormone which is called as insulin. This is very important, my dear students. Whereas delta cell produces another hormone called as somatostatin. and F cell is responsible for producing pancreatic polypeptide. Now, out of all these cells, my dear students, focus only on beta cells. So all you have to remember is we have this organ called as pancreas in our abdomen. Inside pancreas, there are a group of cells called as alpha, beta, gamma, and alpha, beta, delta, and F cells, of which the beta cell produces insulin. Now we will carry forward the story from here. Insulin is responsible for throwing all our glucose from our blood into the cell. See, in many medical books, in many fancy language, it is written as insulin increases the cellular uptake of glucose. So what insulin does is, how much ever glucose is available in the blood, it takes the glucose from the blood and it says, you should not stay here, you should go inside the cell. And then cell will break down glucose inside the cytoplasm and inside the mitochondria. Since our school days, we all know the fact that mitochondria is powerhouse of the cell. So with the help of oxygen that we breathe, glucose is further oxidized. It is further broken down so as to release energy. But in order to get that energy, we need glucose to enter into the cell. And the glucose is brought into the cell with the help of insulin. So what is insulin doing? In two different styles, I can say insulin is increasing the cellular uptake of glucose. Or the other way I can say, if it is going to take glucose from the blood, then I can say it decreases the blood sugar level. All right. All of my students, please confirm. Is this much clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
All right. Fantastic. I want at least one of you to keep responding so that I come to know, okay, how far we connect. So far our story has reached to the fact that insulin decreases the blood sugar level. Keep your questions for hold for a while. I'll just go through few basics, then I'll give you time to ask questions. So insulin is going to decrease our blood sugar level. Now think about a condition where insulin is less in our body. We are talking about a condition where you will face insulin deficiency. Now, this is the point from where diabetes begins. So let us say these beta cells are upset. You see these beta cells, they are very sad. They're not very happy to work. So beta cells are like, we are not going to produce insulin. And if there is no insulin, nobody will take glucose from the blood and put it into the cell. So however, what we will find is, if insulin is less, as a result of this, patient will have high blood sugar level. I'm writing this in shortcut, please understand. So patient will have high blood sugar level because insulin is less. And this particular condition is called as a diabetes. Now we'll go into detailing of this. Diabetes, we have types of diabetes. Okay, there is one variety called as a type 1 diabetes. It is also called as IDDM. Insulin dependent diabetes mellitus.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Can you please allow other students in? They are
Oops,
in the
I'm so
waiting
sorry.
room.
All right. Thank you. You have guided me. Actually, I'm just on the other side of the phone, so I could not see that.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Okay. Yes. There are a few others who have just joined in. I'll go ahead with start of this. Okay, wait for a while.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. If anyone else enters in, okay, any of the student can enter. Okay. I really intend that everybody should understand this. All right, I'll revise this in short. Everyone, please pay attention. We have gathered here to talk about diabetes. Basics of diabetes says that we have this fantastic organ inside our abdomen called as pancreas. Pancreas is present in between stomach and duodenum. Pancreas is a mixed gland which is also called as heterocrine gland. Why it is called as a mixed gland? Because we have two different types of glands in our body. There are certain glands which have their own duct. They have their own pipe. These glands are called as exocrine glands and their secretions are called as enzymes. However, there are certain glands which do not have their own pipe. They do not have their own duct. That's the reason why they are called as ductless glands. And their secretions are called as hormones. So such glands are also called as endocrine glands and their secretions are called as hormones. So understand the fact that pancreas mein you will find both types of cells. Certain cells will produce enzymes, they will act like exocrine, and certain cells will produce hormones and they will act like endocrine component. The endocrine component, those group of cells which are endocrine in function, they are called as islets of Langerhans. In this, what we find is 4 different types of cells: alpha, beta, delta, and F cells. Produces one hormone called as glucagon. Beta cell produces insulin. Delta cell produces another hormone called as a somatostatin, and F cell produces pancreatic polypeptide. Amongst all this, my dear students, remember amongst insulin, invisible cell, this insulin takes from the so insulin like a glucose. It picks up glucose that okay, I'll carry. So it takes up all the glucose from and into the cell. In medical books, they will mention what is insulin doing. In either insulin is a decrease sugar level because whatever in the insulin is. However, confirm. Is this much clear? Yes or no?
Yes, doctor.
All right, fantastic. So just now we section went on to the next part. Here what we need to understand is if this insulin is, what is insulin normally doing? It is taking glucose from the blood, putting it into the cell so that blood sugar level decreases. So the insulin is to decrease the sugar level. That chemical insulin is so patient sugar level. So the blood sugar level of the patient will be more, and this disease is called as diabetes. The bottom line of entire story is when beta cell gets upset, beta cell is unhappy, maybe because of genetic reason, maybe because of unknown reason, maybe because of XYZ reason. When the beta cell is unhappy, the beta cell is like, I'm not going to produce insulin. So in that case, because of insulin deficiency, patient ka glucose will remain in the blood itself. So whenever we will collect the blood sample of the patient and we will send it for testing in the laboratory will say blood contains high level of sugar, high level of glucose, because there is no insulin to take that glucose from the blood and to dump it into the cell. That's why insulin deficiency increases the blood sugar level. Now time for everybody to respond. Is this much clear? Yes or no?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. Okay, now listen to the next part. And now we are going to level up. Okay, so this is just the basic. Now, types of diabetes, we have first type. Diabetes type 1. We always write it with Roman number. Type 1 diabetes is called as IDDM. Full form is insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Then we have a type 2 diabetes that is called as NIDDM. That should be non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Other than this, my dear students, okay, there are others exceptional varieties of diabetes as well. We find many individuals, those who are born with diabetes, that is called as juvenile diabetes. This is something I must say little personally, it is the newborn child, okay, the child just born has a diabetes since birth. And then what happens is juvenile diabetes patient, they have to take insulin injection. Imagine a newborn child, that child has to be pricked upon with insulin on regular basis. That becomes too painful to watch. And then over a period of time, either the mother or someone else from the family has to learn the art of giving the insulin injection, because every now and then they cannot go to the doctor. So some of the family member has to learn how to give insulin shots so that the child ka sugar level remains under control. That's juvenile diabetes. However, diabetes comes up during pregnancy as well. That is called as gestational diabetes. There is another variety of diabetes, which is called as diabetes insipidus. Now, my dear students, amongst all types of diabetes, the last variety, diabetes insipidus, is caused due to deficiency of one hormone called as ADH. Full form is anti-diuretic hormone. Anti-diuretic hormone. Now listen to me very carefully. Diabetes insipidus is a different variety of diabetes. Here the trouble is a deficiency of ADH hormone, and this ADH deficiency disturbs the excretion and osmoregulation, that is kidney function. However, the topic that we are talking today is diabetes mellitus. And diabetes mellitus is caused because of disturbances in pancreas. Understand, diabetes mellitus is insulin deficiency, pancreas related, and diabetes insipidus is kidney related, and it is ADH deficiency. Everybody please respond. Is this much clear? Yes or no?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. Now I would request at least one of you to take screenshot of this, please. Take a screenshot of this and confirm with me if you are done.
Yes, sir.
All right, chalo. Now we'll go to the next part. Any doubt you can just ask me right now. By the time I love this.
Sir, I had a doubt about ADH. So, can you
Yeah,
please?
tell me.
I don't know why, but I've forgotten ADH कहाँ से secrete है. So, if you can please remind me.
Right. See, actually, as such, why I have considered ADH ka discussion is because since we are talking about diabetes, we should know the other aspect also. However, our main talk for today is diabetes mellitus. But yes, definitely I'll guide you. ADH is anti-diuretic hormone. And we have this a tiny pea-sized gland in our head, okay, which is called as a pituitary gland. Pituitary gland in a side view, okay, the front part of pituitary gland is called as anterior lobe, and the back part of it is called as posterior lobe.
Excuse me,
My
sir.
dear, yeah.
Someone is in the waiting room. So can you let him?
Yes. Thank you for informing. Thank you. So let's resume with our discussion. So this is just like if we are looking onto it, you need to imagine there is a pea-sized, a tiny gland, okay, situated in our brain. The front part is anterior lobe and the back part is posterior lobe. The posterior lobe of pituitary gland produces this hormone. It releases this hormone which is called as ADH. The basic of ADH begins with a part of the brain which is called as hypothalamus. I'll just write it down. Hypothalamus produces ADH and this ADH gets stored in the posterior part, that is in the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. And the posterior lobe of pituitary gland, in technical terms, it is called as a neurohypophysis. From there, it is released, it goes into the blood, and from the blood, it enters into our kidney. Inside the kidney, it goes into the basic cell, which is called as nephron, the filtration unit of the kidney. And nephron, what ADH will do is, ADH will reabsorb water distal convoluted. And if this ADH is deficient, then what ideally happens in diabetes is water will not be reabsorbed by the body. So this water will go in excess in the urine only. So patient will pass excess urine at regular intervals. That is diabetes insipidus. Are we clear with this?
Sir, so it's secreted by the hypothalamus, stored in the posterior pituitary, right?
Yes, exactly. See, when we come down to MCQs, okay, so we need to catch it in between the lines. It is ideally produced by the hypothalamus. This hormone is not produced by the posterior pituitary. It does not belong to posterior pituitary. It is kept with posterior pituitary only for time duration, only for temporary storage, and it is released by posterior pituitary as and when required. Right?
All right, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, fine. All right. Students, now let's go ahead with the rest part of the discussion. So we have just now started with diabetes types. We have type 1, which is called as IDDM, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. We have type 2, which is called as NIDD, that is non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Then we have gestational diabetes and juvenile diabetes. Gestational diabetes happens during pregnancy, and juvenile diabetes is seen in newborn individuals. Now, type 1 and type 2. Understand that in type 1 diabetes, pancreas does not produce insulin. In type 2 diabetes, insulin is produced, but the mechanism and the processing of the working of insulin and carbohydrates does not take place. So you can say that the cell, the receptors of the cell, they do not respond to insulin. So because of either of these cases, whether the pancreas does not produce insulin or insulin is produced, but the cell receptors are not picking up insulin and they are not responding to insulin. So in either case of this, what happens? Level shoots up. Now, my dear students, here we need to remember that diabetes will always present itself with 3 complaints put together. That is called as a trio of diabetes. Diabetic patient usually complains of polydipsia, alternating with polyuria, and associated GIA. All right. My dear students, make habit of this, please. Okay. So that we catch this in terms of polydipsia, polyuria, polyphagia. Now, poly means many. So here it means excess. And urea means urine. Diabetic patient will come. Combination is called as polyuria. And since that is the patient will get polydipsia. Thirst. Then a polyphagia, that is classically called as a trio of diabetes mellitus. So patient will present with polydipsia, polyuria, polyphagia. Now, if these complaint comes up, okay, or at times, most of the diabetic patients, they are asymptomatic. So they either are not very observing this. So in that case, what happens is when we check around blood investigations. So what we need to understand is in blood reports, ordinarily we carry out two types of reports. One is blood sugar level on fasting basis. And other is the same blood sugar level on postprandial basis. Postprandial means after meals. Diabetic patient has to run down blood test. He has to go to the laboratory. The laboratory pathologist or the technician will collect the blood sample. And then the technician will request the patient that you go home, eat food, and come 2 hours exactly after food. So let's say the patient goes home and the patient consumes the food at around 11. Then exactly at around 1 o'clock, the patient has to come back to the laboratory so as to give another blood sample, which is called as blood sugar level on postprandial basis. Now, you will find the doctors, okay, they write this in short form. They will write it as BSL, that is blood sugar level. They will put up 2 arrows mentioning F and PP. F stands for fasting and P stands for postprandial. Postprandial means after meals, and this should be 2 hours after meals. Now, the most important part of the lecture, memorize this, remember this for lifelong and guide this to others also. Blood sugar level on fasting basis, on a rough estimate, it should be somewhere around 60 to 120. And same blood sugar level on postprandial basis, it should be around 60 to 140. However, you will find deflections in these reference ranges, but clinically, on an average, take this as to be the lower limit and upper limit. Sugar level anywhere in between 60 to 120 on fasting basis is normal, and sugar level anywhere in between 60 to 140 after meals is normal. Now, let me give you an example. There comes in a patient in our clinic, and in our clinical setup, we have this instrument which is called as glucometer. This instrument, glucometer, it comes with this digital screen and it has another container. This container contains tiny multiple sugar strips. What we need to do is, along with this, we get a tiny pen-like instrument which is used to prick to the patient. So this pen-like instrument is placed on the finger of the patient. So let's say this is the tip of the finger, and moment we press onto the button, the needle comes down, pricks the patient, and because of recoil, the needle goes back. We get it off, we will find that the fingertip starts bleeding. Then that drop of blood is placed onto the sugar strip. Let's say here the blood is placed, and then this sugar strip is inserted into the glucometer. The glucometer has a screen here, and suddenly it will flash the value within 2 or 3 seconds. Let's say the value is 134. The value is 134. Now, moment on clinic basis, when we prick with the help of a glucometer, however, glucometer gives only generalized sugar idea. The specific reporting is done by laboratory. That is the actual blood sample. But it's quite inconvenient to go to the laboratory again and again, and that too 2 hours after meals. So on survey basis for maintaining the sugar, we recommended to the patient that if indicated, we will go ahead with blood investigations. However, on maintenance basis, on routine basis, we can go ahead with glucometer blood check. Now in glucometer, if the sugar level is 134, then immediately doctor will ask to the patient about last oral intake. Let's say if the patient says that, doctor, my sugar right now is 134 and my last oral intake was 5 hours before. That means since 5 hours, the patient is fasting. So I will compare the sugar with fasting range, not with postprandial range. Am I clear with this? Please reply.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, could you
Okay.
repeat what you said about the glucometer before that? You mentioned about some other test related to blood sugar. If you can just repeat that.
Right.
I understood the glucometer bit.
Right, I'll tell you. See, what usually happens is, if in case, let's say, if I have to titrate the medicine of the patient and I need a specific sugar level, okay, because I find that the patient is presenting with a very bad diabetic foot, or probably I'm about to operate the patient. So on certain indications wherein I have to progress depending upon the specific sugar value with my treatment. So in those cases, doctors will say that we will not rely on this value. Okay, get your blood investigated from a pathological laboratory. Now this is done when, let's say, if the patient is about to get operated, or probably I need to change the dose of the patient. Okay, so the clinical judgment guides the doctor that this value is very important because my further treatment and tablet prescription will be dependent on it. However, if I know that the patient is stable, my patient is a disciplined patient. Okay, he has got no cuts, no wounds, diet is appropriately titrated. He's taking medicine on time, he's exercising. And I know that this patient follows all the guidelines appropriately. So on routine basis, if I have to screen the patient or if I have to check the patient, then I will not advise for this report. I will advise him to go ahead with glucometer. So I'll say that you can come down to my clinic. I will check your sugar in the clinic then and there itself. Am I
So
clear
it's
with this?
only so it's glucometer for screening, regular screening, and then
Yes,
otherwise
yes,
to the
right.
pathologist if it's they're showing other
Correct.
symptoms. Okay.
Yes. So
Yes.
if symptoms are there or probably expecting surgery, okay, or
Okay.
probably some new complaints have come up. In that case, we will go ahead with specific report because this
Makes
gives on point, precise report, and this report undergoes a deflection. Okay, so you
Thank
can say this is a specific value. All right. Others also, are we clear with this? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, 134 as per fasting point of view is high. So that means this patient is diabetic. And let's say if the value is 134, and when we question to the patient, when was your last oral intake? The patient is like, doctor, just now, half an hour before. So this sugar value becomes a postprandial. So now I need to compare 134 with this value. So now I'll understand the fact that, okay, fine, immediately after eating, okay, the value can go up to 140. So whenever we doctors check sugar on clinic basis, okay, we relate it with the last oral intake of the patient. And that's what even you can do. I must recommend, I must suggest this because see, glucometer is not a big instrument. In fact, write down on Amazon, you get a glucometer named as Dr. Pen. This is quite user friendly. However, there are other varieties also, but this is what I had been using because my seniors had been using this. Okay. And I find this as user friendly. You can go ahead with Dr. More pen glucometer. You can purchase it and you can keep into your consulting room. And if you find that any of your patient who's overweight or probably